The courtroom was full. Reporters sat shoulder to shoulder, cameras rolled quietly in the back, and a crowd of spectators whispered nervously. Everyone knew this case could change the country. At the center of it all stood Pam Bondi, the former Attorney General of Florida. She looked calm, dressed in a navy blue suit, her hands firm on a stack of legal documents. But inside, she could feel the pressure building. This was no normal case. This was about election integrity, and people on both sides were ready to fight. Some called it a political stunt. Others believed it was the beginning of justice. The front of the courtroom sat Judge Harold L. Thompson, known for his sharp tongue and even sharper political opinions. He had a reputation for throwing out conservative cases without much thought. Today, everyone wondered if he'd do the same. Bondi stood and cleared her throat. "Your Honor, I'd like to present new evidence that directly affects before." She could finish. Judge Thompson leaned forward with a smirk. His voice was loud enough for everyone to hear. "Ms. Bondi," he said, "you may have once been the Attorney General. But in my courtroom, you're just another ambulance chaser looking for the spotlight." A few gasps echoed through the courtroom. Some people laughed quietly. Bondi paused, her mouth tight, her jaw clenched. But she didn't react, not yet. The judge wasn't finished. He looked around the courtroom and chuckled. "Maybe you'd be more comfortable in one of those TV studios," he said. "You know, we're pretty. Faces say pretty lies." Phones went up, camera zoomed in. The insult wasn't just meant, it was calculated. Judge Thompson was trying to humiliate her. But Bondi didn't flinch. She slowly reached into her leather briefcase and pulled out a small white paper. She placed it on the desk gently, then looked back up. "Your Honor," she said, her voice cool like glass, according to Florida's Judicial Conduct Code. Section 2.320. Judges are forbidden from making personal comments about a lawyer's appearance or reputation. Judge Thompson's face twitched. He slammed his gavel down so hard it sounded like a gunshot. "Sit down, Ms. Bondi," he barked, "or I will hold you in contempt of court." Now the room was frozen. No one laughed, no one moved. Even the camera operators stopped adjusting their lenses. Bondi didn't sit. Instead, she held her gaze on the judge. Her calm expression hadn't changed, but something in the air had. This wasn't just a legal battle anymore. It had become personal. And everyone in the room could feel it. On social media, things moved fast. Within minutes, the hashtag Judge vs. Bondi was trending. Clips of the judge's comment went viral. People debated online. Was it a fair trial? Was the judge biased? Why did he attack her like that? Inside the courtroom, Bondi remained standing. "I will take a seat, Your Honor," she said slowly. "But I believe the court and the people watching deserve to know that this case is not about politics. It is about the truth." Thompson leaned back in his chair. This court doesn't take lessons from washed-up politicians. Bondi narrowed her eyes but said nothing more. She calmly sat down, her back straight. But something had changed. The cameras had caught everything. The public saw what just happened. For the first time, Judge Thompson looked uncertain. He glanced at his clerk. He tapped his fingers on the bench. The confidence he had when mocking Bondi seemed to shrink. Outside the courthouse, protesters began gathering. Some held signs supporting Bondi. Others accused her of stirring controversy. The nation had its eyes on this trial, but no one expected it to begin like this. What people didn't know, what the judge didn't know, was that Bondi hadn't come to court alone. She had come with proof. Something big. Something that would shake the courtroom and possibly the entire judicial system. But she was waiting for the right moment. Judge Thompson thought he had won the round, but Bondi was playing a longer game. Back in the press gallery, a reporter whispered into her phone, "You're not going to believe what just happened. I think this trial's about to blow up." And indeed, it was. It's because Bondi had one piece of paper in her folder that Judge Thompson had hoped would never be found. And soon she was going to show it to the world. The next morning, the courtroom was even more packed. News vans lined the street outside. Reporters waited with cameras ready, whispering updates into microphones. Social media was still on fire. Millions had seen the video of Judge Thompson shouting at Pam Bondi. Hashtags like hashtag contempt in court and hashtag Bondi Via's bench were everywhere. But Pam Bondi didn't care about trending topics. She walked into the courtroom with steady steps, holding the same leather portfolio as before. Her expression was unreadable. Judge Thompson sat at the bench, looking tired but still trying to keep control. He had released a short statement the night before calling the attention unnecessary noise. But inside, he was nervous. He'd received a call from someone high up in D.C. and that call had not been friendly. Bondi stood. "Your Honor, before we proceed, I have one document to present." Judge Thompson rolled his eyes. "Is this going to be another performance for your fans, Ms. Bondi?" Bondi ignored the insult. She opened her portfolio and pulled out a single sheet of paper. The courtroom fell silent. "This is an official affidavit," she said clearly, "from the Florida Judicial Qualifications Commission." Judge Thompson raised an eyebrow. "And what does that have to do with this case?" Bondi didn't answer him directly. Instead, she walked toward the bailiff and handed him the document. The bailiff brought it to the bench. Thompson took it with a smirk, but that smirk vanished as soon as he read the first few lines. His face turned pale. He blinked. Then he read the page again, slower this time. The affidavit was signed, sealed, and official. It revealed that Judge Harold Thompson was under active investigation for accepting money from a political super PAC in exchange for dismissing sensitive election-related lawsuits. The document listed names, dates, amounts, and even hidden recordings. The courtroom sat in stunned silence. "You forged this," Thompson said weakly, though he already knew it was real. Bondi spoke calmly. "The document is verified. It has already been submitted to the State Disciplinary Board. You are under formal investigation." Judge Thompson's hands began to shake. He opened his mouth to speak, but before he could say anything, the courtroom doors slammed open. 6 armed state troopers stepped inside. The sound of their boots hitting the floor echoed like thunder. A tall officer stepped forward. "Judge Harold Thompson," he announced in a loud, clear voice, "you are under arrest for bribery, conspiracy, and multiple counts of judicial misconduct." Gasps filled the room. Phones went up again, cameras flashed. People whispered and pointed. Thompson stood frozen. You can't arrest me. I'm a federal judge." But the officers moved forward. "Not anymore, sir." As they placed him in handcuffs, he began to panic. His breathing grew fast. Tried to pull away. "This is a setup," he shouted. "Call the governor. I know DeSantis. I demand." His words were lost in the noise. One of the officers read him his rights, while another picked up the gavel he had dropped. His $3,000 black robe dragged on the floor as they pulled him from behind the bench. Bondi stepped back and watched, silent. As Thompson was taken out of the courtroom, still shouting, still begging, Bondi adjusted her jacket, looked at the stunned crowd and said, "Well, I suppose we'll be needing a new judge." The crowd didn't know how to react. Some clapped. Others were too stunned to move. But every phone in the room was recording. The video hit 5 million views by the end of the day. Outside, news anchors scrambled to update their scripts. People flooded online comment sections. Some called it justice. Others called it a political stunt. But one thing was clear. Pam Bondi had just changed everything. Later that evening, sitting in a quiet room backstage at a news station, Bondi received a message on her encrypted phone. It was from the whistleblower. 2 words appeared on the screen. "There's more." Bondi looked at the message. Knew this wasn't over. Judge Thompson had just been the first domino, and she was ready for the rest. The newsroom was buzzing. Every major network wanted an exclusive with Pam Bondi. Some offered primetime interviews. Others promised full-hour specials. But Bondi refused them all for now. She had something more important to do. She was sitting in a private office above a local radio station. The blinds were drawn. The air smelled of coffee and dust. On the desk in front of her sat a burned CD in a plain white envelope. A note was taped to the top. It read, "Use only if they push back. Trust no one." It had arrived that morning by private courier. No return address, no sender's name. But Bondi already knew who it was from her source inside the Department of Justice. The same whistleblower who had helped her bring down Judge Thompson. She slipped the CD into an old laptop. No internet connection, no cloud, just local playback. As the screen loaded, the room went silent. The video was grainy, but clear enough. It showed Judge Harold Thompson in a dimly lit restaurant. Sitting across from him was a man in a dark blue suit, Robert Kingsley, a known political strategist. Connected to multiple super PACs, they spoke in hushed tones. But the audio was clean. "You get rid of these cases," Kingsley said, "and the next time the circuit reshuffles, you'll be sitting in Atlanta or higher." Thompson nodded slowly. "And the money?" Kingsley handed him a manila envelope. Bondi hit pause. It was real, undeniable evidence of a direct bribe. And worse, this wasn't the only judge Kingsley had met. She fast-forwarded. At the end of the recording, Kingsley made a chilling comment. "We've got 3 more judges lined up. Florida's just the beginning." Bondi leaned back in her chair, heart pounding. This wasn't about one corrupt judge. It was about a system. She picked up her phone and dialed a number she had memorized but never used before. It rang twice. Before a voice answered. "You've seen it?" the voice asked. "'Twas the whistleblower." "I saw it," Bondi replied. "There's more," the voice said. "Much more. But you'll have to go off the record. They've already scrubbed the DOJ archives. What I sent you was a backup burn from a hidden server before they wiped everything." Bondi closed her eyes for a moment. She had spent years inside the system, believing in its rules, its process, its integrity. But now that system had cracks. Big ones. The whistleblower continued. "They'll come for you now. The media might flip. You embarrassed, powerful people. They'll hit back." "I'm ready," Bondi said. "Then you'll need help. Someone who knows how they work." There was a pause. The voice added, "I'm sending you a name. You'll find her in Washington. She used to be one of them. Now she's not." Click! The call ended. Moments later, Bondi's phone buzzed. A single name appeared. Eliza Carr, former legal advisor, White House Ethics Committee. Bondi stared at the name. She had heard it before. Eliza Carr had once led an internal investigation against a vice president. Then she disappeared from public view. Some said she was forced out. Others said she left by choice. If anyone knew how to break this open at the federal level, would be her. But Bondi also knew stepping into that world meant crossing a line. No more courtroom safety. No more legal limits. This would become a political war. She shut the laptop and locked the disk in a drawer. The media would have to wait. So would the public. First, she had to find Eliza Carr. And if what the video showed was truth, this wasn't just about Florida anymore. It was about how deep the corruption went, and who at the top had allowed it to happen. Outside, reporters were shouting her name, asking questions, begging for answers. Pam Bondi walked out the side door into a waiting black SUV. The driver nodded. "Washington." She nodded back. "Let's finish what we started." Simple English, suspenseful, cinematic tone. The black SUV moved silently through the dark. Streets of Washington, D.C., Pam Bondi sat in the backseat, watching the city lights blur past the window. Her phone buzzed again, more calls from news anchors, legal analysts, politicians. Everyone wanted to know what her next move was. But Bondi wasn't ready to talk. Not yet. She looked down at the address in her hand, 1732 Ashcroft Street. A quiet, older building tucked away from Capitol Hill. That's where Eliza Carr lived now. A former White House ethics advisor, Eliza had once been one of the most respected names in legal reform. But then, 2 years ago, she disappeared from public life. Rumors said she had been silenced. Bondi didn't believe in rumors. She believed. In fact, the SUV stopped outside a brick townhouse. No lights, no movement. Bondi stepped out, walked up to the door, and knocked 3 times. Nothing. She knocked again, this time louder. The door creaked open just a little. A woman's voice came from the dark. "Do you have the disc?" Bondi hesitated. "Not with me. I locked it in DC's security storage." The door opened wider. "Get. Then come inside." Inside, the home was filled with books, old case files, newspaper clippings. Eliza Carr stood by the window wearing a gray sweater and jeans. She looked nothing like the woman Bondi had seen on TV years ago. Her eyes were sharper now, more tired, more dangerous. "You're late," Eliza said. "You knew I was coming. I saw the footage. Everyone did. You embarrassed a federal judge on live television? That makes you a problem for the system. And that makes us the same." Bondi nodded. "I need help," she said. "You don't need help. You need protection. They're going to bury you if you keep going." "I'm not backing down," Bondi said calmly. "Not after what I saw on that tape." Eliza walked to a small safe under her desk and pulled out a thick folder. She tossed it on the table. "Then you need to see this," she said. Bondi opened the folder. Inside were printed emails, handwritten notes, and scanned memos. All of them pointed to one thing: a hidden political operation designed to quietly control judicial decisions in key swing states: Florida, Pennsylvania, Arizona, and Georgia. At the center of it was a name Bondi hadn't expected to see: Kingsley Holdings, LLC. "The same man in the video," Bondi said. Eliza nodded. "Robert Kingsley doesn't just buy judges. He buys silence. He buys outcomes. And he's backed by people who run both parties." Bondi sat down, overwhelmed. "How did we let it get this far?" Eliza looked at her, serious. "Because people believed in the system too much. And the system counted on that belief too. Stay dirty." Bondi stared at the evidence. It was bigger than she thought. This wasn't about one corrupt judge. It was a webband she had just pulled one thread. Suddenly, a loud knock hit the door. Both women froze. Eliza motioned to stay. Quiet. She pulled a small handgun from a drawer and approached the door slowly. Another knock. Then silence. Bondi's phone vibrated. A blocked number. She answered. A deep voice whispered, "You need to leave now. They're watching the house. This is your last warning." The line went dead. Bondi looked at Eliza. "We're being watched." Eliza didn't panic. She grabbed a duffel bag already packed near the stairs. "I hoped it wouldn't come to this," she said, "but we don't have time. We need to go live." Bondi raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean?" Eliza zipped the bag. "We leak everything, not just the video. The folder, the documents, the names. We go on the air, full exposure. They can silence one of us, but not both. And not when the world is watching." Bondi hesitated. "If we do this, there's no going back." Eliza opened a back window and looked out into the alley. Nothing to go back to. In minutes, they were gone out the back, into the shadows, while 2 black cars pulled up in front. Inside the house, the evidence was gone. The safe was empty. But outside, somewhere across the city, a media contact waited, a trusted journalist who had promised to go live the moment the file reached them. Bondi looked at Eliza in the car. "Do you trust the press?" she asked. Eliza replied, "No. But I trust the truth to scare the hell out of them." As the car disappeared into the night, the plan was clear. Tomorrow, the world would see everything. and the system would finally be forced to answer. The morning air in Washington, D.C. was sharp and cold. But inside a small private studio tucked behind a bookstore in Georgetown, the atmosphere was hot with tension. Pam Bondi and Eliza Carr sat across from a young journalist named Ava Chen, one of the few reporters left in the city who hadn't sold her silence for power. "You're sure you want to do this?" Ava asked, adjusting her mic. Bondi nodded. "The public deserves the truth, all of it." Ava looked down at the hard drive on the table filled with videos, documents, and names. "Once we go live," she warned, "they'll come for both of you." "Hard," Eliza answered without flinching. "They already are." The countdown on the screen began. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Suddenly, millions of people across the country were watching the stream. Phones, laptops, tablets, smart TVs. The breaking news banner flashed red across the screen. "Live, Pam Bondi and Eliza Carr. Reveals secret network controlling U.S. courts." Ava began. "Good morning. We bring you a live special that may change how you see the justice system in America." Bondi leaned into the microphone, her voice steady and cold. "For years, we believed in the strength of our courts. But behind closed doors, a shadow operation has been buying judges, dismissing cases, and silencing legal action in key states. Today, we will show you proof." She clicked a small remote. On the screen appeared the secret video of Judge Harold Thompson accepting a bribe. Then came the emails sent from a Kingsley Holdings account to federal staff. Then internal memos from political donors offering cash bonuses for legal favors. Within minutes, the comments online exploded. Viewers typed furiously, "This is treason. How deep does it go? I knew the courts were rigged." Bondi continued. "This isn't about politics. It's about power and how quietly it's bought." Eliza took over. "Robert Kingsley and his network aren't just buying judges. They're shaping elections. They're targeting lawsuits before they even reach a courtroom. And if you think it ends with him, you're wrong." She clicked again. A second file appeared, this time listing 3 more judges under investigation. 2 senators. 1 former White House official. The room was dead silent. Even Ava looked stunned, but Bondi wasn't finished. "We were both warned not to come forward," she said. "Threatened, watched, followed. But we didn't stop, 'cause someone has to start telling the truth." Then she paused. "And it turns out we weren't alone." Ava's eyes widened. "What do you mean?" Bondi smiled faintly. Right then, a second live feed popped onto the screen, this one from London. A familiar face appeared. Meghan Markle. People across the world gasped. "Good evening," Meghan said. "What's happening in America isn't just about corruption. It's about silencing women, destroying truth, and laughing at justice until the moment it stands up and fights back." She didn't name names. She didn't need to. The symbolism was powerful. 2 women who had been mocked in public now, joining voices. One in a courtroom, the other on a global stage. The feed returned to Ava's studio. The chat exploded again. "She's in this too, Bondi and Markle. What a duo." This is history. But behind the scenes, phones at the Department of Justice were ringing nonstop. Press secretaries were scrambling. A federal judge watching the stream dropped his coffee. Emails flew. Lawyers panicked. Because what Bondi and Eliza had just done could not be undone on the corner of the studio. Ava's producer ran in with a paper in hand. "You're trending worldwide," he said breathlessly. "Top 3 in 47 countries. We've never seen anything like it." Bondi turned to Eliza. "We exposed them." Eliza nodded. "Now we see who runs first." But just as they stood to leave the studio, Ava's screen lit up with a flashing alert. DOJ. Press statement. Allegations under review, whistleblower identified and arrested. Bondi froze. "Eliza," she whispered. Eliza grabbed her bag. "We have to move now." "They got him," Bondi said, her voice heavy. "And we're next." Eliza replied, "But we've already lit the fire." Outside the studio, black sedans had started circling the block. Inside, millions continued to watch, and across the country, people who once trusted the system were beginning to ask questions they were never supposed to ask. The safe house was cold and silent. It sat just outside Washington, hidden behind trees and a tall iron gate. Inside, Pam Bondi sat at a table, staring at a folder of printed names: judges, donors, political advisors. Each one had ties to Kingsley Holdings, and each one had ruled on major election cases in the past 5 years. Across from her, Eliza Carr checked the security cameras again. "No movement yet," she said. "But they'll find this place soon." Pam didn't answer. Her mind was racing. The news of the whistleblower's arrest had hit hard. He had risked everything to get them the truth. And now he was behind bars. What if it was for nothing? Pam asked quietly. Eliza turned around. It wasn't. The world saw what they weren't supposed to see. We showed them. But the system's still standing, Pam said. The people in power, they're still there. Eliza sat beside her. Not for long. She pulled a small USB drive from her pocket. This ... It's what they were really trying to hide. Pam looked at it. What is it? It's called the Ghost File. Before I left the White House Ethics Committee, I was assigned to audit digital archives from the DOJ. I found this hidden deep in a private network. It was locked under a fake case number, never filed in public records. Pam took the drive. What's in it? Audio recordings, secret meetings, memos from top DOJ officials. Some of the names in there, I couldn't believe it myself. Pam paused. Anyone in the current administration? Eliza nodded. Yes, and not just one or two. They both sat in silence. The air felt heavier now. The stakes had gone from national to global. If they released this file, it wouldn't just shake the courts, it could shake the White House. But before they could talk more, Pam's encrypted phone buzzed again. One word appeared on the screen. Run. Pam showed it to Eliza. She didn't. Wait. Eliza jumped up. Grab everything. They've found us. Within 30 seconds, the safe house lights went dark. Outside, the faint sound of engines and tires moving fast. From a hidden drawer, Eliza pulled 2 flash drives. She handed. 1 to Pam. This has a full copy of the Ghost File. If we get separated, you upload it. Pam grabbed her coat, tucked the drive into a sealed pocket, and followed Eliza through a back exit that led into the woods. They ran fast, their breath visible in the cold night air. Behind them, headlights broke through the trees. Black SUVs. No plates, no sirens. Government, but not official. Pam and Eliza ducked low, hiding behind a fallen tree. One SUV stopped near the safe house. Men in tactical gear stepped out. One of them held a photo, Pam's photo. They're hunting us, Pam whispered. They won't stop, Eliza said. Not until we're silenced. After 15 minutes, the SUVs moved on. But Pam knew it was only a matter of time. I reached an old service road. Eliza pulled out a flip phone. Who are you calling? Pam asked. A journalist I trust. Underground, no ties to mainstream media. He runs a secure channel. Minutes later, an old delivery van pulled up. The driver wore a baseball cap and thick glasses. You brought it? He asked. Pam held up the flash drive. Everything's on here, she said. The names, the audio, the money trail, the memos, all of it. The driver nodded. I'll get it live. You two lay low. Because once this hits, everything changes. As the van pulled away, Eliza looked up at the stars above them. We just gave the world the match, she said. Pam replied, let's see if they light the fire. Back in D.C., the Department of Justice received a chilling message from an unknown email address. The Ghost File is real. It's already been sent. You can't bury it now. Within hours, screenshots from the Ghost File began appearing on encrypted news forums, whistleblower websites, and independent media outlets. People were waking up. Some were angry, some were scared. But one thing was clear. The truth was no longer in hiding, and the system that thought it was untouchable, it had finally been touched. The world was no longer quiet. By morning, #GhostFile was trending in over 60 countries. Independent news sites were publishing transcripts, audio clips, and lists of names pulled from the leaked drive. The mainstream media was slow to respond. Many networks first called it unverified or conspiratorial, but they couldn't hold the wall forever. Within 12 hours, everything changed. The New York Times, Reuters, and BBC confirmed the leak was real. The DOJ released a weak public statement saying they were reviewing internal procedures. But it was too late. The documents showed everything. Judges connected to Kingsley Holdings, DOJ officials ordering quiet case removals, even internal White House memos requesting cooperative bench replacements in key election districts. The trust in the legal system began to collapse publicly. Inside a hidden apartment in Baltimore, Pam Bondi watched the news in silence. Her eyes were tired, her body sore from running, but her heart was steady. Across the room, Eliza Carr was on a burner phone speaking with a legal team. "They're coming after us with lawsuits, injunctions, everything," Eliza said. "They're calling it national security interference." Pam didn't flinch. "Let them. The files are out. It's bigger than us now." Eliza turned up the TV volume. A familiar face appeared on the screen. Robert Kingsley, finally speaking publicly. He stood at a podium with polished calm, saying the leaks were part of a coordinated misinformation campaign to undermine the stability of America's judiciary. But even as he spoke, protesters gathered outside the DOJ, the White House, and courthouses around the country. Some carried signs that read, "We want the truth. Unelected. Unpunished." Not anymore. Pam Bondi was right. Suddenly, Pam's phone buzzed with an encrypted notification. It was a video. She clicked play. The screen showed a new whistleblower, face blurred, voice distorted, but the badge on their coat was clear. FBI Internal Affairs. "I can confirm," the voice said. There were internal orders to protect certain judges. Kingsley Holdings was not working alone. It had support from members within federal law enforcement. Pam's hands trembled slightly. She showed it to Eliza. "It's spreading," she said. "It's unraveling," Eliza replied. Outside, horns began to honk. People in the street were shouting, live streaming, chanting her name, "Bondi, Bondi." But Pam wasn't thinking about glory. She was thinking about justice. "We need one more step," she said. "What do you mean?" Lisa asked. "We've exposed the truth. But unless someone faces consequences, real ones, they'll just rebuild." Eliza thought for a second. "Then we take the next one down ourselves." Pam nodded. "We go back to court. But how?" Eliza asked. "We're fugitives now, technically." Pam opened her laptop and typed quickly. She pulled up the Florida Supreme Court emergency portal. "This isn't just a leak," she said. "It's evidence. And if we're brave enough to walk through those doors again, in front of cameras, in front of the nation, then the system has to respond. Even if it's forced to." A long pause followed. Then Eliza smiled. "You're serious?" Pam looked up, dead serious. Eliza walked to the closet, pulled out 2 clean blazers, and threw one to Pam. "Then let's remind them who we are." The next day, a storm of reporters filled the steps of the Florida Supreme Court building. A black SUV pulled up. Out stepped Pam Bondi. The crowd went wild. Cameras flashed. Microphones pushed forward. She didn't stop. She walked straight into the courthouse, holding the ghost file drive in one hand and a formal case file in the other. Moments later, Eliza Carr followed behind her, unafraid, determined. Inside, they handed over their motion to the clerk. Emergency filing, federal bribery and election interference investigation, request for grand jury review. A single sentence written at the bottom. No one is above the law. As the doors closed behind them, the world watched live. And for the first time in a long time, the people felt something they hadn't felt in years. Hope.